Hey, Naima Singletary here with the power to lead an unseen vision every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Europe time. And I am here for those of you who have always been different since you were a child. You know that you are here to change a culture, an industry, the world, your life radically, and that it will require millions of dollars along with your inhabited pure power. Inhabited pure power. You know, it's so required of us. So today's topic, first of all, is the intelligence of drinking seemingly uncontrollably. The intelligence of over drinking seemingly uncontrollably. And the stream of terror that I feel, before coming live for today, for Wednesday, for another unplanned stream that I did earlier this week, and really showing up, modeling what's necessary for all of us who are coded, who are uniquely coded and unusually powerful, and are anomaly human beings among the human species, that we can now come out now. We don't have to be afraid of being killed anymore. That was a strong one for a lot of us for a while, including me. And we are living in a time now where sex dolls are a thing. And Donald Trump is president. I mean, like, these extreme situations are now on the table. Yes, there are strong reactions and it's stirring up and disrupting. You go in any industry, you know, Uber Eats, who's now designing the technology to have our food delivered by drone within 3 years. The technology that EasyJet, an airline based here in Europe that's working to have primarily electrical airplanes within the next decade or so. I think less than that. The point is, it's all allowed. Your consciousness, your incredibly rare, precise, high-level consciousness, and the way that is so necessary for you to create the millions, for you to create the movement, and for you to tap into that signature level of power. It's signature to you. And so my job here as an advisor to emerging visionaries is to model, first of all, be that for myself. Because the more I speak the way I am now, the more I show up, I'm remembering myself. I'm waking myself up over and over and over, remembering over and over and over, which is also required of you. But then also I am letting you know that you're not alone. And that I'm available to support you in this stepping into this, because it's a long game. It's a long game. And so many of us have suffered alone because there was nobody who was showing up. So we thought we were alone when we weren't. The truth is, we weren't speaking up. I wasn't speaking up. I was speaking up in a certain kind of way that felt safe enough to show up as at the time. And this brings me to today's topic of the intelligence of over drinking seemingly uncontrollably. So I am here for a very niche individual. I am not here for the masses. Now, the work that I do impacts those who impacts the masses, but I am here in highest service and great service to a niche individual. And so this is how you know if you should be here or not. I and you have always been ahead. Fast. We've always been fast. So some examples are, and I'm going to use myself as an example, and you can fill in the blanks for yourself, okay? I started walking when I was 7 months old. At 5 years old, I was reading poetry successfully for money to adults. It was my mother's poetry, and I was reading it and loving it. And it was like home for me. At 9 years old, I started my period. By 14, I was having sex. I had my first oral orgasm at 15. I taught myself how to drive at 15. I was making $1,000 a day as a professional shoplifter by the age of 15. And all of these things came, and there's so much more, like the list goes on. However, the reason why these things came about, the speed of which I was doing things, was because the rules of society say you can't drive until this age, you can't do this until, I moved out of my mother's house when I was 15, okay? All of these rules, see, and this is the right? Like the rules of society, even though they're normal, they've been with us forever. The rules that say you're this age, you do this, you're this age, you do that. I always was far, far ahead of them. Far, far ahead. I remember the men, when I was 15, the men in my neighborhood used to call me crazy. The women didn't like me. Women who I'd never even met before, women who were older than me did not like me. My consciousness was always far, far ahead. And yet I was in this environment of mediocrity. Nobody around me was speaking about colossalness and high consciousness and shifting cultures and changing the world and birthing visions. And so my impulse, this incredible impulse, turned into rage because it was unexpressed intelligence. This intelligence that was going through me, that was going through you, that is going through you, was unexpressed. And anything that is pushed down eventually explodes. So mine turned into rage. And so I became like, I'm taking it. So I turned into this wild child, or like, I think that's where the name wild child even comes from. Like these children who had these lids on them by a society that is dealing in remember I talked about that consciousness on Wednesday? That hum of mediocrity, that hum of normalcy, of that hum of what makes everybody comfortable and says it's acceptable. And so I was like, I was gone. So I left my mom's house. I just became rageful. And still, there was nothing around me that was speaking to the intelligence that I knew. There was nothing around me that was saying, you know, you were born to do something that has not yet been seen. You are more than what can be seen with the eyes. And so I went on to get married. I mean, like, I just didn't know what to do. And I went into college because I was bored. Just the thought of it, right? And so I remember when I first got introduced to the personal development space, it was, I was like 22. I was like 22. I got introduced to the personal development space. And at that time, the people who were the hot people were the old white guys. So it was Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar. You've heard of them, right? And still, they were the only ones who even spoke a bit about you can create your life. There's more, there's more. And so it spoke to the part of me that had felt that way since I was a kid, that nobody else around me had been able to speak to. And so I got into direct sales because I found out about personal development through a direct sales company, and I did well there and continued to be married, graduated from college, not even because I liked college or wanted to be in college, but because I didn't know what else to do with myself. And so I continued to be this strange, weird person, and I would start different businesses, just playing around just to see. And I remember I went through the divorce. I think I've talked about that on the show, I don't know, but I've talked about it numerous times publicly and I've written about it. But I was in this wonderful marriage and just had to go. I just had to leave the marriage. And it was what people will call a perfect marriage. I left that marriage, moved to Houston, Texas, and with this, which was foreign territory for me because I'd never even been to Texas when I made this move, and wanted to prove to myself that I had what it took, that this thought and this sense that I had that there was more for me, that it wasn't just in my head. So I embarked on this journey of starting a business and taking care of myself and figuring it out. And along the way, I started to drink and drink more and drink more. And it was average drinking, like in my late 20s, between like 26 and 30, early 30s or so, 32-ish. It was like average drinking, right? You drink, sometimes you get drunk. Sometimes I got drunk, right? Then when I sold that company, Glam Shop, and went on to the transformation space, which is where I came into the transformation space in 2011, that is when the portal opened for higher consciousness. That's when obviously it was my time to open up to this higher level of consciousness beyond just the typical motivational personal development stuff that's so common and ubiquitous today. And so around 2013, well, not around, I'm talking about the drinking part. It was in 2013 that the drinking became excessive. I'm gonna loop this around to you too, because there's connections here. Just follow me here, because it's all connected. There's a reason why all this stuff is happening in your life. This is one topic I'm talking about, but there are many other topics. And so in 2013, my tapping into an infinite intelligence became the most aligned and most honest and most purest connection with that which I and you know that I know that I know. And so what happens when a person really wakes up? They go fucking crazy. When you're living in this world of mediocrity, and you truly wake up, you go mad. You fall into depression. You start doing things you've never done before. You start feeling things that you've never felt before. You start seeing things that you've never seen before. And that's what happened to me. I fell into the most extreme depression that many people will call mental illness. I literally have people contacting me saying, Naima, are you okay? Because what happened is, as I dissented more, I started to publicly share these things on Facebook. I wasn't talking to human beings, but I would share the awarenesses that were coming through. I would share them. And so I became so disconnected from the everyday hum of things. And remember, I was already in the transformation space. I already had clients. I was already making money. I had already started getting $10,000 clients by this time, okay? And I've talked about this so many times. It got to a point where I was literally going 3 and 4 days without showering. I ended up having to leave my business because when you really start to wake up, it's a shakedown. It's a spiritual shakedown. The way that you are, you just cannot stand on that. I could not stand on that anymore. The way that I thought, the way that I even moved about my daily existence fell from under me. So the brain that I was using no longer functioned, right? And everything that is based in capital T truth, just, I just opened up to it and dissented into that day by day by day by day. So most of 2013, I was in hell. I ended up moving in with my mother. I started eating like shit. And it got so bad that it was the first time that I honestly was looking to kill myself. I was calling pharmacies and looking for cyanide because I wanted to die quietly. I was in tremendous pain because, one, I was alone. Remember I talked earlier about when you start to really wake up, most of us do not have somebody around us who can hold us and really see us beyond the madness that we're in. Most people do not have that capacity. And one of the things that makes me uniquely qualified to support those of you who are ahead, who I described earlier in this video, is that I have been through this more than once. And so I was in so much pain. I did not want to be here anymore. And I said, I literally told God, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm done. I'm finished. Woo. And I remember I was like, if I cannot do the work I was born to do, I don't want to be here anymore. Because as I was waking up, I started to see all the masks, including my own, the smoke screens, the fakeness, the way ego pervades things, the illusions of the world, the ones that are not in service. I started to see fakeness and, oh my God. And I remember it was just like, am I going crazy? It was like that. And I remember I was like, I just don't want to be here anymore. So anyway, I started drinking heavily, like crazy, like drinking myself to sleep as frequently as possible. Drinking myself to sleep. I remember at one point it was like, I've told this story so many times. I've told this story. And I remember it got to the point where I was sleeping all day. I was sleeping all day, all night. I would just get up to go use the bathroom, maybe drink some water. And I was just sleeping all day. And I was living with my mom. So my mom has a huge 5-bedroom house and she has a room downstairs. And so that was the room that I was in. And she would come home from work and I would be in the bed under the covers. And she would just come check on me and she would just be like, Naima. And I remember I wouldn't even answer. It's like I was dead or something. And this is how you know you're different. Like you have to learn how to differentiate from a high level, not from ego, from a high level. Like there are people who literally do commit suicide who do not make it out. And you're here. You're still here. You have work to do. And so I remember one night, and I'm not going to even go further into the story of the whole pharmacy cyanide situation because it's long. But I remember this one particular night, I was just like, I don't want to be here. I'm done. And I remember drinking to the point where I couldn't hold my eyelids open anymore. And I had started drinking, before that. But this level of excessiveness. And so I remember I drank until I couldn't hold my eyelids open anymore. And when I woke up the next morning, it was the loudest silence that I had ever heard. Like the loudest, it was just like, oh my God, I'm still here. What's going on? And so I started a different kind of prayer because prior to that, I was praying in rage to God. Like, why are you doing this to me? I'd like scream and be angry as fuck at God. Like, why? If I'm so meant to do something, if I'm really this, if I'm, because I knew that there was something special about me. I knew that I had specific information, intelligence, and codes to bring to the world. And I'm like, if this is really it, if I'm really it, and you really want me to go do this, why the fuck am I hurting like this? And I said, that was the prayer and conversation before this night. And then after this night, there was a shift. And the prayer then became, okay, you take over now. See what I mean? Surrender. It was like, okay, you take over now. Like, okay, I'm really willing to do this now. Like you take it, you take it. I'm not dead. Okay, I'm still here. Okay, let's go. There's something for me. And things didn't, come together miraculously after that, but I changed where I wasn't begging God, angry at God, cursing God. Now it was like, okay, God, okay, I surrender here. This is a higher intelligence, you guys. And so that was like October or something of 2013. And so at the end of December 2013, and I was still drinking heavily. I was still living with my mom, still a mess, still not showering, still depressed. But my insides, there was like, okay, God, let's go. You can take over now. I surrender. And literally, it was just, and keep in mind, I was not dealing with people. I was in the house with my mom, and I think my sister was living there, and I think my niece, I can't even remember, but like that was the extent to who I was engaged with. And just this, just this, just influx of intelligence came in that told me to contact these people. I contacted these people. One of them I had met earlier in that year at a conference. The other two I had never met before. And we ended up getting on the phone in January, that first week of January, to talk about much of what I talk about now: power, wealth, shame, fear, womanhood, motherhood, blah, blah. And so that marks me coming back out into the world as a businesswoman and telling God I'm only coming out if I can really do the work that I'm made to do. And like, I got a billion stories I can talk to and probably will talk about, not probably, but will. But then what happened is, what happened, this is long, but this is just, it's true. This is how it goes. And I want you to be able to see yourself in this, okay? I want you to know that you're not crazy. You're not alone. You're not being punished. What it is, one, you're being refined. You're being refined. Two, what happens is because, and I talked about this on Wednesday, because you have a brain that is, it's the enemy. I mean, the brain is a finite structure, and it's the part of us that questions everything. Like, your knowing questions nothing. The part of you that just, that intelligence, it does not question, it knows. But the brain questions everything, and it's like, that's where doubt comes from. And am I, like, the part of me that I said earlier was like, am I really made to do this? If I'm supposed to do this, why is it, who am I? Like, that is the survival brain. And so what happens is, because you are here on planet Earth, you have to, there has to be like an alignment with your knowing and your brain. So what happens is, these situations that you end up in, the over drinking, the over shopping, the rage, the doing shit over and over and over again that inflicts harm on you, the dramatic situations you end up in, like all the stuff that happens in your life, it's happening to inform you. It's not punishment. It's to inform you of who you are and for you to refine your perceptive abilities. You must have highly refined perceptive abilities to be able to birth the thing that you're meant to birth, and to be able to navigate all the energies and the other lower level influences that are inevitable, that are around, and just really learning how to be this clear channel and power center who moves. So I'm sharing all these nuances and highs and lows and all that, so you can see, wow, okay, I'm not alone. This shit really does happen. So anyway, that was 2013. This is 2018. We're talking about 5 years of things that have happened. So from 2013 even through last year, okay, the excessive drinking, I thought that it was just me being like fucked up on some level. What I realized, and I actually knew it then, but it was like, there's something that happens. Well, for me, I'll speak for myself. I know, but I look for external evidence to validate what I know. And this is why the creation of the money, now I see why it was so important to create the money. Because even when I was broke, there was something in me that knew that the money didn't mean the thing that the world makes it mean. Right? And it's this weird thing, like the world, like money means success, and money means you're smart, and money means you're happy, and money means like all that. No, what it is money means that you have cultivated a power and created this harmony between knowing and mind, and created direct, like there's a direction. Remember I told you the universe is hostile. So the ability to create large amounts of money really has to do with a person's capacity to be able to direct and hold power, and to push and pull and navigate power. And so what the creation of the money allowed me to see, right? The being able to create something on the external to validate what I knew on the internal. What the creation of the money did for me was it allowed me to see that the power that is really required, that has nothing to do with the world says. The money is a reflection of your power, and it's a reflection of your specificity and creation. Nobody creates millions on an accident. Millions is a purposeful, specific, directed thing. And so what I knew a year ago, 2 years ago, in this space when I was still heavily drinking, the space between 2013 when I came out of or early 2014 when I was coming out of the depression, up until a year ago, and I was doing this excessive drinking, and I could feel that there was a part of me that was intentionally needing to slow down, because if I sped up, there was a way that I would be out of sync with you and all of us around who I'm touching now. This is, I know, right? But if it would have been left up to me, in 2014, I would have already been, I was gonna say millionaire status, but I just would have been so much further ahead. And so what happens is, like for those of you who are like, why aren't I further ahead? Why haven't I, right? And you can see how you have sabotaged yourself. It looks like sabotage because that's the language that people use. It actually wasn't sabotage. It was a way for me to slow myself down. The liquor totally made me slow myself down, because you and I are built for speed. And it is such a self-reckoning that's required to be able to reconcile that that you are so immensely powerful. It is such a mind fuck, because who are you? Who am I? Shoot, if somebody cut me, I'm gonna bleed just like the next person. I feel pain, you feel pain just like the next person. And yet, when you allow it, and when you are aligned with the forces and really surrender to the power that you are, there is a speed that is incomprehensible to this mortal mind that we have. I'm telling you, we have got to get a grip on this mind. The mind is going to fuck us if we don't tame it. The mind is the thing that has people like, well, let me see, let me talk, let me, I don't know, let me see. Believe me, I know the brain like the back of my hand. I can see the slyness of the brain. And when I do the detachment and I drop in, this is what you're gonna have to learn how to do. And this is what I teach my clients. Soon as you drop in and there's like a relaxation into stuff and you drop in, and you can clear. And this is what happened when I went through that place of really tapping into infinite intelligence in a way that I never had before. It's like I knew everything. I just knew. And it's such a mind fuck, because my habit was navigating time and space. Well, I need 6 months because, I need 6 months. Well, this coach who makes 7 figures told me that this is how it goes. Well, because I read, or I was on this webinar and they said, and they make so much more money than me, and because I'm afraid, because I'm just not sure, because see, that was my normal way of making decisions. Let me go meditate about it. Let me go think about it. When you're tapped into knowing, you don't need meditation. You don't need to go think. You know. I had this woman contact me. It was the first time I experienced somebody living from knowing when I first came into the transformation space. This was in 2011. I wasn't even known yet. Remember, I found out about the transformation space in 2011. I was new. Right, I was just starting to figure things out. I enrolled in this online course about branding. And I remember this woman who I didn't know, had never met, didn't even know how she found me. She sent me an email. And now I know that this is powerful, but she sent me an email and she said, Naima, I know that you're supposed to be my next mentor. I know. I'm like brand new. So the brain is like, what, really? Right? Because the brain and then not having feelings in check. Remember I told you it's not about what you feel or what you believe. God, I was watching this video yesterday and this guy was like, because you got to believe. And if you believe this and you believe that, blah, and I kept thinking to myself, it's not what you believe, it's what you know. It's what you know. And it's not that you know all things. Like, I don't know technology stuff. There's things I don't know that are of finite intelligence. I'm talking about when you're tapped into knowing, you know infinite intelligence. You know that you know that you know. And this is the intelligence that you're going to need to make your millions, birth your vision, really be the face to lead and handle all the shit that's going to be thrown at you externally and internally. And so she contacted me. She was like, Naima, I know that you're meant to be my next mentor. And then she went on to talk about, and this is all in email. We never even met. All she saw was videos online. And she signed up. We worked together. It was amazing. We're still Facebook friends today. We're still in contact today. That was in 2011, 7 fucking years ago. And so now I don't even, when someone contacts me and they're like, yeah, I want to see about thinking about maybe possibly da da da, I do not even open myself to get on the phone with that. Because if you're not at a level of intelligence yet to know that you are the one, and you're in that place that I was in when I was like, I think so, maybe so, I just cannot help you at that level. See, and this is so important for you to know who you are so you can know who you're here to serve and who you're not here to serve. So what happened is the excessive drinking that I was still doing, like I was in Paris excessively drinking, thinking it's like, gosh, I keep doing this. That's what my brain was saying. You keep doing this, you keep doing that. And there was something in me that was like, you're slowing yourself down. This is all part of it. You're fine. You're slowing yourself down. And that's such a paradox, isn't it? Like, you're excessively drinking. Isn't that dangerous? Oh, cirrhosis of the liver. Oh, right? Gosh, and this is where reconciliation of your mind and your knowing is so, it's just going to be so critical of you. And I'm really happy to be somebody and so uniquely qualified to be able to navigate the forest of the brain and the clarity of the knowing. So, okay. And so I went through, remember I told you time and time again, right? And there's been even more before. But last August, after I had this successful event in London, it was an amazing event. And I can go into, how that even came about. And, went into another descent, right? The next dark night of the soul. And I was like, just traveling. I was just, not anchored in, right? I was in Amsterdam, and I was in London, and I was in Italy, and then I went back to the United States, and then the speed. Remember, you and I are built for speed. The whole time I was feeling this impulse to go. And it's part of why the drinking too, to help, be with the rage. It's like putting a lid on the rage while the rage is stirring. And I started writing, and I realized that the knowing comes to me in my writing. Like, I'm able to see it, right? Because it's and then when I see it on paper, it's like, oh my God. And so it was like me talking to higher intelligence. If I'm made for speed, why am I being slowed down? Why aren't I moving faster? And then it was like, Naima, you have moved faster. Look at what you've already created. And also, it's not just about you. Remember, you have constituents here. You have people who you're here to serve. If you're too far ahead, they won't be able to see you, notice you. We have you slowed down so that you can be in communication with them. It's not just about you. It's about them too. And it was just like, see what just happened? Even right there? I could calm the fuck down. And so things like anything that could be perceived as self-sabotage by you, seemingly excessively, uncontrollably drinking, and anything, like you're doing, you're just like, why can't I stop? Whether it's shopping, why can't I stop shopping? Whether you just keep getting on your devices, why can't I get off this device? Whether you keep going to some person who's, toxic and abusive in your life. And yet there's a part of you that knows that that's temporary. Like you can see it, right? But your brain will tell you how much of a loser you're, fucked up. Are you qualified? You're not that. You can't lead anything major. You're not. Isn't that a mind fuck? That is a mind fuck. So I get it. And I want you to know that that is a part of your path and a part of your refinement. Because you are going to have blow-ups and you're going to need to be able to deal with the mind fuck of being in this world and not of this world. It is such a mind fuck to appear to be in this world. You got neighbors, you got people, you got the news, you got dominant consciousness, you got, right? And you know how people think, right? And then there's you over here thinking a certain kind of way, knowing. And so that's a personal mind fuck that has nothing to do with anybody else. And yet and still you are here to come out and lead something that has not been seen yet. See, so there's such a reconciliation that's required of me, of you, in that space between the mortal mind, which is finite, that is what most people in this world are operating from, and then having the most mature, clear, pure relationship and channel with your knowing. So that as the forest of the brain, the fog of the brain does its thing, you have the skill to disconnect, tap into the knowing, and move from there. Does anybody have anything to say? I see we have some folks here now. I'm getting ready to wrap up. What I want to say as I'm wrapping up is a big part of why many of us have suffered for so long is because we have not been out purely. We have not been visible purely. Speaking on stages, on video. Like I'm going to be speaking in Zurich next week. Baby. Like this way that I'm showing up now, I was not willing and ready to show up as a year ago. So now here I am to support so that who I was 2 years ago, who you are now, who I was in 2013 when I was not showering for days at a time and drinking myself to sleep, doesn't have to be that way. Now I'm here and it's so clear to me. It's clear to me. It is clear to me like never before. And it's why I'm so adamant about only getting on the phone with those who I get the clear knowing that I'm meant to be in service to. Only showing up at places that I get the clarity that I'm meant to show up. And this is for you too. Like I'm sharing this with you because you must do the same thing. It's required. It's what it is. It's not my opinion. It's not my wish for you. There are rules that govern this power. The degree of your success is going to be the degree to which you surrender and respect the laws. This is not my shit. I don't know. You leave it up to me. I might be doing cocaine and fucking, I don't know, on the fucking beach somewhere and like getting my pussy licked while I count money. Right? There are other laws governing this. Okay? And I have given myself over. This is the surrender that I'm talking about. And in order for you to get out of your struggle, your suffering, it's what it is. And so it's a huge responsibility and it is so massively liberating. I feel so protected. I feel so in my kingdom It's not even just feeling, I know. I'm so in my kingdom, and I want that for you, to really birth your thing. I'm speaking in London at the end of this month. I am calling in all kinds of resources and money and people and conditions that are allowing my signature way to speak in this world. And I want that for you. And if you're really going to birth the thing that's unseen, that you're uniquely made for, your surrender and your cultivation of the power is so absolutely required. And you were made for it. Higher intelligence, you were made for it. So today is the last day to get the gift of 5 private calls with me when you sign up for a VIP day or a year of us working together. VIP day, I have availability in London at the end of this month and California at the end of December. The VIP days are $15,000. The year long has different prices depending on what's happening in the year long. You can email me for us to discuss this. My email is with this video. It's Naima@naimasingletary.com. So go there so you can spell it correctly to make sure your email gets through. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And please share this. Thank you. Yes, please share this video specifically with the man or woman who you know that you know that you know who this is for. We are so lucky to be alive now at a time where we don't have to worry about being killed for speaking high-level intelligence, for organizing movements, for coming out with content that humans have not heard before or have only heard about behind closed doors. We are so blessed to be living now. And so you have full-on permission to navigate your terror, to come out in public, to speak on stages, to deliver your content, to get on video, and to really show up in the most true and high and purest way that you feel called to. And that you know that you know that you know. And learning to differentiate between feelings and thinking and believing and knowing. Okay? So I would absolutely love to work with you if you know that you would really produce some speed in your life. If you know that working with me would help you to produce quantum speed in your life, step into more money than you ever have, produced more results in the way that you are meant to, I would absolutely love to support you in that. Oh my God. This is the direction of transformation now. This is where we're going. So like I said, email me and I will be back here next Monday. On Wednesday, because I'm speaking in Zurich, the show is going to be a little different. I'm going to see how I can broadcast from Zurich to next Wednesday. And so just be on the lookout for that. Wednesday is going to be different, okay? And then I also know that because the time changes this weekend for the United States, that today the time may have been off because we're normally 6 hours ahead of New York and we're currently 5 hours ahead because of the time change. So just know that I know that, okay? And that concludes, let me do a refresher to see if anybody here. No, it would have showed up on my screen. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing. It is I feel so well used and honored to be here. And my strongest desire is that you and I are normal. Let me be clearer, okay? Where, there's coaches and doctors and attorneys and then us, you and I, that our intelligence is revered in this world. And it's only going to happen by you and I revering it and being the pioneers of that. they so brutally disrespected and tarnished yoga when it first came out decades ago. They called it like the dark people coming to, because it was Indian people leading it, or like the dark people are destroying our women and they're the devil. This was decades ago. Now yoga is a mainstream, well-respected thing that is worldwide. You and I got 20-something-year-olds, early 20-something-year-olds contacting me. They're gonna contact you too. When you show up, allow yourself to be seen purely. No matter what the people say, people are gonna speak. Those aren't your people. And those women who you're touching, 20-something, teens, they're gonna be 30-something one day. And they are gonna be the ones who are gonna help normalize. You and I are the pioneers. They are gonna be 30-something and 40-something. And this intelligence that we're talking about is going to change this world. I know it. So as a woman, if you're a woman, as a woman of color, if you're a woman of color, as a Black woman, when you do it, you create exponential transformation instantly when you show up. The world does not yet know that its rightness is rapidly restored by respecting the power that is Black woman. First of all, the power that is woman, and the untapped power that is Black woman. The untapped, remember I talked earlier about, when I was younger, and it's like all of this unexpressed power that was tampered down. And my mother, she admitted, a couple years ago on my radio show, that she didn't know what to do with my power, that I was a curious child, that I was an expressive child, and I'm the firstborn. So she didn't know what to do with me. She used the word intimidated, that she was intimidated by my power, by my curiosity, the way I navigated the world. So there was this tampering. And women have been suppressed. And Black women have been doubly suppressed. So this is why when you, as a Black woman, stand up, the ricochet that happens when you stand up has a much more profound, far-reaching, and deeper impact than when other women stand up purely in power, inhabiting pure power. You either know that or you don't. So, I'm gonna go now. Thank you so much for being here. Please share this. This has to go out. Vibrationally is gonna go out anyway because the time is now and the universe is always course correcting. And I'm asking that you expedite that by sharing this video, okay? Email me, let's work together. Do not let your brain get in the way. If you know that you and I are meant to work together, do not let anything about time and space get in the way. If you know, act on your knowing. That's when you start creating these mind-blowing, like, whoa type, right? And when you know. And so I'm here to be I am exclusively here to be in service to the man or woman who I described in this video and who I'm talking to in this video. So, all right, I'm really going now. So I'll be back here next Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Europe time. Lots of love, you guys. Have a great weekend and cultivate your knowing.